Sup, guys? 1-0 yesterday is the over hit in Anaheim, Toronto. Part of that handicap was also the bullpens both suck, and that's how it got done. It was somewhat low scoring earlier in the game, but the bullpens blew it or helped me win my bet, is more like it. Bullpens were able to send it over, mostly Anaheim's bullpen not doing well, so we got that over to hit. Moving on to today. I'm only going to have one play today, and I don't even know if there's really much to talk about with this card today, even though it is a Monday, so you do have a lot of crossing over, let's say. Not into the dead. Nobody's dying here, I don't think, but you have teams starting new series on a Monday. That's what it's all about, shifting series. You tend to look to fade teams that are returning from road trips and stuff like that. Look to fade the teams that played in the night game, like Houston beat Baltimore in the night game, I believe, which was a pretty big win, although I'm not actually fading Houston here. They're going to Philadelphia now, and I think that's still kind of a big game. And Philadelphia, I believe, is returning home from a road trip, so both teams are kind of in bad spots in that one, so I don't really want to do anything with that game. The game I'm going to be on, we don't even know who one of the starting pitchers is, and I don't even think it matters. And yes, as I mentioned yesterday, I am going to the Red Sox game. We'll just throw that out there again. The night game, though, but the Red Sox are making history today with Danny Jansen, as I mentioned yesterday, in the afternoon continuation of a postponed game or a suspended game, I guess, that happened earlier this year in Boston, suspended in the second inning due to a rain out. Danny Jansen was on Toronto at the time, and he was literally the player at bat when the game got suspended. Now he's on the Red Sox, and he's going to be the first major league player to ever play for both teams over the course of the same game, which is ridiculous. So that's going to happen. And he will be starting the game. He will be out there immediately for the Red Sox at catcher, and he will be catching his own at bat, which is even more ridiculous. The at bat that Toronto is forced to pinch hit for, whoever it's going to be. The Red Sox, I am going to the night game, though, which is going to be between Nick Pivetta and Jose Barrios, I think. But I don't know why the starting pitchers aren't listed on ESPN yet. I thought that was like definitive that that's what it was going to be, unless something else is going on here. But on like pre-games board, I do see that being the matchup there. And I see the market actually indicating on the Red Sox, and maybe I'll get to see a win. I'll be out in the bleachers. Bleachers like old times, man. Cheap receipts, it'll be fun. First row out there. I forget which section it is, but hopefully, maybe I'll catch a home run. We'll see what happens in that game. But hopefully, the market indicators are telling me something that the Red Sox are not completely dead yet, although they're on the verge of being dead. The game I'm going to be playing today, though, is probably the game between the two worst teams. And no, it's not Detroit, Chicago White Sox, although I guess I will mention that too really quickly. With Ty Madden is making his major league debut for Detroit. Detroit's heavily public, but also a fairly heavy road favorite, up from minus 119 to minus 147. I think this is a continuation of this series. I think Detroit has won every game in the series so far, and they're looking for a 4-game sweep here, but they're up to minus 147, 91% of the tickets, 97% of the cash. It looks like they're just public, but they're getting some of the actual money coming in on them too. I don't know. Ty Madden starting for Detroit. I don't really trust him. I do like guys that are top prospects who are making their major league debuts. And he's not a top prospect, but he's like one of the top 5 pitching prospects, I think, in Detroit's organization. We know Detroit has had some pretty decent pitchers come up through their organization recently, but Madden, I'm not sure that he's one of them, man. I mean, he's got a decent fastball, I guess, like mid-90s mostly, and he's got curve, slider, changeup, and cutter, I think. So he does have 5 pitches, but it seems like they think he might be more of a relief pitcher, even though they are throwing him into the starting role here. And like I said, I don't really trust him, but the main reason I don't trust him is his AAA stats. He had decent stats in the minors through a lot of the way through like single A, double A. His strikeout rate is actually really high in the minors, like 11 per 9 innings or something, which is pretty good. But then his ERA in AAA, even though I think it was a fairly limited amount of playing time in AAA, his ERA was in the 8s. And he had like 100 something strikeouts, 120 strikeouts, maybe like 40 something walks, or maybe it was fewer than 100 strikeouts. I forget what it was. His walk rate was really high in AAA. And I do know that some of his AAA action was against Cleveland's AAA affiliate, and I think he was facing like Jhonkensy Noel and stuff, like some of the guys who are actually on Cleveland's major league roster now and are really raking it. But still, I don't like those AAA numbers for Ty Madden, man, so I don't trust him. He's up against Davis Martin, who is a young guy for the White Sox, who I think Detroit probably has never faced him before either. So it's like, why aren't you playing the under in this one, man? Which is something that I like to do where you have really pitchers that are unfamiliar to the opposing hitters. Detroit actually has 17 at-bats against Martin, and he holds him to a 118 average and 284 OPS. So extremely weak numbers. But Martin, I mean, in a starting role, he's a guy that just doesn't go deep into games. He hasn't allowed too many runs. His ERA is good at 3.22, but his whip at 1.39. His walk rate is really, really high. So he's gotten out of some jams. 22 to 12 strikeout walk ratio and 22 in the third innings pitched, 19 hits allowed. I don't love it. I don't love it, man. Martin made his debut season last year at the age of 26, which isn't a great sign either. And he had a 4.83 ERA and 1.29 whip. So I don't think his stats this year are really that far off from what he really is. So I don't trust either pitcher there, although I guess I would lean to the Detroit side there to win yet again against this bad White Sox team, but it's not something I really want to get involved in. It does look like the market is indicating on the under somewhat, even though it's up from 9-9 juice to the over. I see 58% of the tickets on the under and 98% of the cash on the under. So take from that what you will. But the game I'm going to actually be on, I think is actually less unpredictable than that Detroit-Chicago game, even though we don't even know who one of the starting pitchers is. And that's going to be to fade Colorado despite not knowing who their pitcher is going to be. They're returning home from a road trip. Only 2 series, but it took them to the East Coast, to Washington and the Yankees. They won 2 of those games. They went 2-4 on the road trip. Returning home from the Yankees, they did get smacked last night by the Yankees, but still, it was not a great game for the Rockies. They used 3 relief pitchers, which I think Miami also used 3 yesterday. Let me look here. Well, I'll look in a minute when I talk about what Miami's scheduling is, but Colorado returning home from a road trip like that and with no days off, even though, as I've pointed out, having the day off actually kind of exacerbates the road trip return even more. But in a road trip return, especially a team that's not very good like Colorado, these teams don't tend to do well in that first game back from a road trip. It's a distracted spot where you have to get back home to family life. I always say stuff like that. So Colorado is in a negative spot for that reason. Miami, I think, is actually in a positive spot as they won a game yesterday, breaking a loss streak that they had. They lost 5 games in a row, getting swept by Arizona. Sounds like my Red Sox, everybody getting swept by Arizona. Then they lost 2 to the Cubs pretty badly, but they bounced back nicely with a win yesterday. And now they get to carry that momentum out on the road. So I actually think that Miami is in a positive spot here, getting that win, as bad as team as they are. And they only used 3 relief pitchers yesterday too, although their bullpen isn't very good, but neither is Colorado's. So I don't think there's really an edge one way or the other here. And I'm playing the full game just because it's a situational play as well. So Miami, I think they're in a positive because they were able to win that last game of that homestand and take that winning momentum out on the road. And it's a much more positive spot to start a road trip because you tend to be focused on baseball. You get away from those home distractions and just focus on the game. So that's going to be the case. Miami's got Edward Cabrera pitching, and his stats are not good this year. 5.65 ERA, 1.47 whip, really bad stats. His stats, he's been maybe a little bit better in the month of August with a 3.68 ERA, not allowing as many runs, having 2 shutout performances, actually, one against San Diego and one against Atlanta. So that tells me maybe he's improving a little bit. And then he got knocked around by Philly, but Philly also is a good offense. And then he had an okay outing against Arizona, too. So he faced a slew of really good offenses in the month of August. And now this is going to be a step down facing Colorado's offense, I would have to imagine, even though it is going to be in high elevation, which I'll talk about in a minute, because we do have something to say about that, too. The bad thing about Cabrera is that he continues to be massively wild, and he has a 17 to 12 strikeout walk ratio in the month of August, which is not good in 22 innings, only allowing 17 hits, which He's not been easily hittable, but that strikeout rate is down from what you like to see out of him because he is a decent strikeout pitcher. His problem has always just been that he's ridiculously wild. But anyway, yeah, the fact that he looked like he started pitching a little bit better and put in some decent performances against some of the better lineups in baseball, I think is a good indicator that maybe he's kind of bouncing back a little bit. He had one good season in 2022 where it looked like he was really kind of becoming something good and becoming a really good pitcher, even though he was still walking way too many guys. But he slid back last year. And his ERA actually was serviceable last year, but his whip was terrible. He's still walking a ton of guys. It's just that the fact that he's striking out so many guys it like overcomes the walks to some extent, where he's just really hard to hit. And that's been the case this season, too. He's got a 73 to 38 strikeout walk ratio on the entire season, 58 hits allowed, 65 and a third innings pitched. So his walk rate is just way too high, but his strikeout rate is high, and he doesn't allow that many hits. So he does have good stuff, man. It's just got to get that wildness under control, and he could be really something. But I like him in this one because I do think he actually has good stuff. But look at his stats against Colorado, and that's where this play becomes pretty clear, man. And so not just the fact that he's been pitching better recently and he's faced a bunch of good offenses recently and done decently against them, and now he's facing a significantly worse offense than those offenses. His stats against Colorado's current hitters, oh boy. We have a sample size here of 40. They are 5 for 40 off him. They do have 2 home runs off him and 5 RBIs, but a 19 to 3 strikeout walk ratio. So Colorado's hitters have not really been patient against a guy that walks a lot. They've struck out a ton against him and haven't walked a lot. And he's held them to a 125 batting average and 461 OPS. So Cabrera, in a decent sample size there, has dominated these Colorado hitters. So I like that. And then if you look at his splits, this is what I was going to talk about, because you think, well, maybe in elevation, he might struggle a little bit, right? You might think that, like, maybe he'll be bad in this environment of Coors Field, right? Especially because, well, he's a guy that has given up some home runs and whatever, but that hasn't been the case because even though he is wild, he actually doesn't get hit that hard. So I think that translates decently to these high elevation environments. He's made 2 starts in his career in Coors Field. He's actually been around since like 2021, even though he's only 26. He's been in the league for a while. He made 1 start last year. Coors Field, went 6 innings, allowed 5 hits, 3 earned runs, only 1 home run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. So a good strikeout walk ratio, and allowed a 217 batting average. So he had a pretty decent start in that one. 4.5 ERA is what it translated to, but 6-1 strikeout walk ratio. Not a lot of hits allowed, not a lot of walks. 3 runs allowed because he did give up a home run. So that's not bad. Not a bad performance there last year. And I think some of these Colorado hitters are the same. And he pitched at Coors Field the year before that, too, in 2022, and had a 6-inning performance, allowing only 1 hit, no earned runs, no home runs. Did walk 4 guys, which wasn't very good, but 9 strikeouts. So he had a 0 ERA in that performance and a lot of an 0.53 batting average in that one. So if you look at it all combined, he's gone 12 innings in his career in Coors Field and only allowed 6 hits, 3 earned runs. And he has, what did I say, a 15 to 5 strikeout walk ratio there. So his numbers in Coors Field have been quite good, man. And his ERA there is whatever. I think in like the 2s. And he's a lot of batting average there in like the 100s or something, which is, it basically is similar to what I just read off as his stats against Colorado. So he has been good in Coors Field, and he's dominated Colorado. So I'm going to play in this game. It's a bad situation for Colorado, and Cabrera matches up well against Colorado historically. So that's what I'm going to do. Colorado, we don't know who their starting pitcher is. I don't know why it hasn't been announced yet, because if you look at what the rotation has been, it should be Tanner Gordon, but I'm not even sure it's going to be. And I don't know if it really matters in this game, really. Colorado, basically every one of their starting pitchers is terrible. So I just don't think it's going to matter that much. Tanner Gordon, if it is him, 7.55 ERA this year, 1.58 whip. He's been not doing well, even though he does have a 25 to 6 strikeout walk ratio. He's allowed 43 hits in 31 innings. He's not walking a lot of guys. His control's been all right, but he is just giving up a lot of hits. It just hasn't really been very good for him, even though I don't think Miami has ever seen him before. So maybe he'd have that advantage if it is him pitching today. But the fact that he hasn't been announced yet, he might be injured or something. Because ESPN has his page making it look like he's injured because they don't have the batter versus pitcher stats linked there. I don't know why they do that when the guy's injured. They take the batter versus pitcher tab down, so you have to go to it manually by URL. I don't know, man, but whatever the case is, I don't think it really matters. Whoever Colorado's going to throw in this game, I don't think it's going to be great for them. I don't think they don't have any good pitchers. So, like I said, like probably their only like decent starter, serviceable starter is Quantrill, and he would be up for tomorrow's game. So I don't think they're going to pitch him on short rest here, but we will see. So I'm taking Miami in this one, man. You can lay minus 108 with them right now. The line looks like it's basically minus 110 on both sides right now. So neither team really the favorite here, but I'm getting Miami at the slightly cheaper price, minus 108, and that's going to do it, I think. I don't think there are any other things to talk about, right? We don't have any NFL today. We don't have any. Yeah, next NFL game is going to be Ravens-Chiefs to kick off week 1. And college football, the next games are going to be, I believe, on... No, actually, we do have a college football game in the middle of the week, so I guess I'll be talking about that. So I'm going to be putting out some weekly football videos as well, where the weekly videos for college football, I talk about Friday, Saturday, Sunday, basically, and for the NFL, I talk about the entire week because I usually try to get it out on Wednesday when you get the lines that aren't totally stale yet, but you have enough information that you can make some plays, and it's before all the games for the NFL week, so I like to do it that way. Even though Wednesday is Tower Gang Wednesday, so we have a late night with all Tower Gang stuff, I tend to do the degenerate gambling podcast after that. I don't know if maybe I'll start live streaming it just so people can stay up late and be totally out of it with me. I don't know, because last year I just recorded it in a total sleepless days and then put it out. But I don't know. Sometimes I did it in the early morning, but we'll see how I want to do it this year. But that's going to do it for me for now, man. But I will start cranking up football videos as that season is about to start. Miami Marlins, minus 108, the only play today. Peace.